Welcome to today's Soul Course, brought to you by GaiaWisdomSchool.org. Hey, thanks for taking the time to watch my last video and for the great comments that you left. It touches me to really read your stories and to connect with your struggles, your pains, and even your joys. I also appreciate you for making the time to watch this video. I know you're busy, but perhaps that is the reason you have been led here to begin with. I am finding more and more people who are struggling to find their sacred purpose or to feel fully connected to their life. And as time flies past you at warp speed, it's really hard not to feel overwhelmed and as if you're missing out on doing what you were meant to do in this lifetime. When I surveyed the last group of folks that I worked with, more than half of them said that finding their sacred purpose was their biggest concern or goal. So just to give you a quick refresh, we are diving into the medicine wheel, which is one of the most ancient tools used by many cultures for healing and direction. In this modern day time, we can use this ancient tool as an all-encompassing blueprint or framework for living a more balanced, more connected, and authentic life. Right now, we are rotating the sacred wheel towards the east direction, or the visionary soul archetype. And this particular direction is steeped in discovering your sacred purpose, as well as communication, confidence, finding clarity, and many other things. Many people come to my work because they are seeking a way to integrate their spiritual life into their everyday life, or they are seeking to live a more meaningful life, or to feel that they are contributing and living to their fullest potential. I call it taking the hero's journey because it does take those heroine attributes to reclaim your power and to use it to live your best life possible. The medicine wheel provides the perfect opportunity to break down those areas of our life that have the most meaning, to process the hurts, the fears, the pains, and more, and then to rise with solid tools which allow you to bring these beautiful pieces together in a beautiful and unique tapestry called Your Life, Your Full Potential. And the best part is that it isn't impossible or even overwhelming. You know, with this blueprint, it makes it very easy to bring those pieces together. When you break it down to the soul archetype or to the direction, you begin rebalancing and aligning the energy of that specific direction. It makes it very accessible. Integrating it into your everyday life then becomes an ordinary outcome of the spiritual work that you do. It's no longer separated where your spiritual life is separate from your everyday life. It is the framework by which I live most of my life. I no longer work jobs that I am not passionate about. In fact, I have dedicated my life to teaching this work. It is my sacred purpose. I've been teaching personal development and spiritual courses for nearly 3 decades, and specifically teaching about the medicine wheel for at least 15 years now. I'm also a meditation coach, and now I have over 126 guided meditations available in our Soul Shop. And you can also find me on YouTube and Insight Timer. And I'm about to hit a milestone with 1 million views and with over 11,000 subscribers. That's something I'm really proud of. Over the years, I have taught hundreds and hundreds of folks just like you and me ways to bring more authenticity and spirituality into their life. For many years, I worked as a massage therapist, and I helped teach and write the curriculum for one of the nation's top massage schools. So I suppose you could say that teaching and guiding people is really in my blood. In 2012, my partner Amber and I moved to the heart of the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina to open a retreat center. And together, we built Gaia Wisdom School, and we facilitate both group and private retreats here on our beautiful land. But we also have our online programs, and through those we have connected to folks all over the globe, everywhere. All that I do has been carved out by living my life in a way that I could live what I teach. I feel very strongly that the best way to help guide others is through example, as well as providing solid information. So in the last video, I had you take the quiz to determine the health of your energy of your soul archetypes. It was a lengthy quiz, I know, but it should provide you with an accurate assessment of where you are and where you distribute that energy. Before we get to what the scores mean or how to interpret them, I want to first explain the layout of the medicine wheel in terms of the soul archetypes and how they relate to our everyday lives. You know, up here we've got the soul shaman who's in the north direction. We have the visionary in the east direction. We have the sacred heart warrior here in the south. And then we've got the alchemist in the west. And then in the middle of all of that, we've got the wisdom keeper. So that's where everybody resides in the wheel. But our lives are very fluid and changing, you know, moment by moment. And because there is so much interplay between the directions, you may have one specific thing which has a ripple effect across all the other directions. When we do an assessment, we are assessing how the energy is divided among all four soul archetypes. In addition to being divided up among the four soul archetypes, each of the four quadrants will be divided further into excess, deficient, and balanced energy. To give you an idea of what that might look like, here's an example of just the scores from the visionary soul archetype. And you may be looking at your scores from the quiz and wondering, how can I be both deficient and in excess and in balance all in one direction? So as an example, let's look at how the energy can play out in the visionary soul archetype if you are in excess or deficient. See if either of the two following descriptions describe you. So in excess visionary, when someone has too much energy in the east direction or in the visionary soul archetype, they will be your typical workaholic. Their career goals supersede other goals, and thus making them very driven, almost with tunnel vision. They will be the ones who are working while on vacationing, while the rest of the family is out there playing and having fun. Therefore, they can be fairly addicted to their technological gadgets, probably with the smartphone attached to their hips. When they see that notification light go off and there's something inside of them that says, oh my God, I have to check it, I have to check it. It's like putting a piece of candy in front of a kid and then telling them not to eat it. I mean, he's going to eat it. Just like with somebody with excess visionary energy will respond to that notification light on the smartphone. So excess energy can also inflate the ego substantially, even knocking someone over into becoming self-centered, and in some extreme cases, they will become narcissistic. They have control issues and need to have not only control, but also they need order in their lives. They can be verbally abusive towards others. They love to debate and can destroy someone with their words. They are very quick and sharp. Not many people can stand a chance in an argument with a visionary who has excess energy. Emotionally, they can be numb or detached. Sometimes they aren't quite sure what emotion that they might be feeling, and they will likely try to process their emotional body through linear thinking. And things must also make tangible sense to someone with excess energy. They don't trust their intuition as much, so they rely on logic and knowledge as well as common sense to figure things out. They can be wildly successful in their careers because they spend so much time working, but they define their worth through that bottom line in the bank account or in their status, their social status, or their status at work. They are very aware of how others perceive them, and if they are perceived as not being successful, it really cuts them to the core. So if none of the above described you, see if the next description does. This is somebody with deficient visionary energy. So with not enough energy funneled into the visionary soul archetype, you create a deficit. And a very deficient visionary often feels apathetic towards their life or towards their life purpose. Or they feel that they have no idea what their sacred purpose is or what that even looks like. They often suffer from low self-esteem and a lack of confidence, and generally don't believe they have what it takes to be successful. They have mastered the art of procrastination and will avoid having to look at things, including responsibilities, by diverting their attention instead to spiritual or emotional pursuits. With a lack of confidence, they will look to others to tell them what to do, or they find themselves in codependent relationships to deflect and care for someone else rather than focusing on themselves. They can find it really hard to be inspired by much, or at least to have the inspiration to support their dreams and ideas. Their dreams may feel muddled, like they aren't sure, what are truly their dreams in comparison to the dreams of others. Or, because of that, they will sometimes find that they are where they are because they're either living someone else's dream for them, or they are supporting someone else's dream instead of their own. They may find it also difficult to articulate their emotions or communicate to others effectively. Often there is a deficiency of energy. When there's a deficiency of energy, they will feel unheard or not validated by others. And this can lead to isolation and avoidance of relationships. A deficient visionary confuses easily. They rely more on emotional and intuitive cues when communicating with others. And if they were in an argument with someone who has an excess amount of visionary energy, they will nearly always feel that they cannot compete or keep up with the argument. They don't like to argue. Because they rely so much on intuition, those with deficient energy will seem like they lack knowledge or book sense or even common sense, but they really base their decisions on their gut, not logic. Communication is difficult for a deficient visionary as they tend to be more quiet and have a hard time speaking their mind or their truth. They can become introverted or shy and not feel that anyone really hears them. So, in their mind, it's why bother if nobody hears me. They are uncomfortable with loud noises or people who yell and scream. Deficient visionaries can have a hard time either finding a job or finding a job that suits them. Their work may feel unimportant to them, or it is merely a means to an end. It's just a paycheck. They often have a hard time following through or tending to their responsibilities, mostly because they are not comfortable in that logical arena where we deal with things like paying bills and balancing bank accounts and filling out paperwork, etc. So if someone has a deficiency in the visionary soul archetype, you can pretty much guess that they will have excess amount of energy in either the Sacred Heart Warrior and or the Soul Shaman. Whew, so what does all this mean? I know that early on I felt like I had most all of these attributes in both categories. So you're not alone. You feel that, if you feel like you are alone, trust me, you are not. Likely you can see bits of yourself in each of those descriptions. And you might even, be feeling a little bit overwhelmed or lost right now. But with knowledge comes power, and the power to make profound changes in your life. The medicine wheel provides that perfect opportunity to break down those areas of our life that have the most meaning to us and to process those hurts and fears and pains and more. And then to rise up with solid tools which allow you to bring these beautiful pieces together. And the best part is that it isn't impossible or overwhelming, really. So the blueprint that I will share with you makes it very easy to start to decrease the excess and increase the deficient, to bring that side into balance. When in balance, you have a very strong sense of who you are and what you are here to do in this lifetime. You dream big and you have ideas and aspirations, all of which you are not afraid to go after, and you do. And as you do, you are counting your successes not just by financial gains, but what matters most to you is how successful you are in contributing to the goodness of the world. People naturally gravitate towards you because you inspire them. You encourage them to do the same, and they see a natural born leader within you. Even if you don't have a leadership role, they will feel these qualities in you, therefore they look up to you. You have a great sense of humbleness despite the adoration of others. You see that your part, although integral, is not more or less important than the work of others as well. And because of that, you see the best in others. You help lift them up and build their confidence. Your confidence is like a natural born confidence. You admit when you do not know how to do something, but have enough self-confidence that you will try new things easily. And this confidence allows you to go beyond any fear of failure or fear of success or any fear period. You know, you can articulate your emotions and your feelings. You express yourself easily through the written word or spoken word. In fact, your words probably are very inspirational to others because you can reach people at that heart center through your words. When someone speaks, you deeply listen to them, and you hold that sacred space for them to be able to speak freely and openly. You are non-judgmental of others, and often you celebrate the strengths of others and see their diversities as their strengths. You have a very strong conviction, and you are not afraid to step out of the box to create a meaningful life for yourself and for your family. And yet at the same time, you have the critical thinking skills and can analyze situations to know what is best in that moment. You have a talent for being able to solve problems creatively and effectively. Your career is very important to you, and you also balance the other areas of your life as you understand that to persevere, you must feed your spirit. You also follow through on your promises and your commitments. You know, if you are steadfast in that. And if there were a disaster, you would be the person many would look to help us rebuild or understand what is needed. You would be able to see that bigger picture of, you know, see what's needed, know how and who to delegate to be the most effective. You would inspire people to act and to be able to comfort them and let them feel safe. You would also know your weaknesses and would communicate that you needed help, and then you would accept that help easily. You are not power hungry or power driven. You truly are a heart-centered leader. Now, that is a very balanced visionary. And this is how we would aspire to have the energy in our East Direction or Visionary Soul Archetype to encompass all of those traits. So I would like to share an example of how this looks in real life. So Cheryl came to the mentorship, and I've changed her name to protect her identity. When she first took the assessment test, her scores looked like this. So you can see from this chart that there was a high amount of deficiency in the north, east, west. In the south, she was equally deficient and excess. Now this may seem confusing when you see all the numbers all over the place. And by the way, the scores you received will look a little different. Once you take the quiz, we run your score through a special algorithm formula that creates the pie-based chart on 100% per direction. Your scores that you got reflect all 4 directions equaling that 100% instead of 400%. You get that? It'll make sense. So in Cheryl's case, once we began examining where those imbalances were, we could start to thread together the story. And in doing so, we could see how an excess energy in one area can create a deficient energy in another. So one of the things that Cheryl uncovered and began working through were some pretty hardcore beliefs about herself. She grew up in an abusive home with dad verbally and emotionally abusing her. This caused her to actually shut down and isolate, which created a deficient north. A deep-seated belief of I'm not enough or I will never amount to anything, that started to set in. That was a deficient east. That began to take up prime real estate with her. In addition to this, she began to realize that the only way to really receive love and attention from her emotionally vacant mom was to clean the house, which is an excess energy in the west, and get good grades, which is an excess in the east because she was overachieving for the wrong reasons. She also learned that to lessen the abuse from dad was to be unseen, which is a deficient north. To not have a voice, which is a deficient east. And from doing this, she shut down her emotions, which then put her into a deficient south. And with an already depleted self-esteem, the only other way she could know she was worth anything was by being validated by someone outside of herself, which set her up for a deficient east and some deficient south there, or excess south. So now fast forward to her teen years, and the pendulum swings in the other direction, and the only way that she feels like she can feel love is by being more promiscuous with her boyfriend. This creates an excess south. And this newfound way of love landed her the title of slut at her school, and she began to feel shame, which is also an excess south. By now, Dad's pendulum began to swing in the opposite direction too, and he had shut down, began drinking, numbed out to the TV, overworked. And then Mom's pendulum began to swing to the opposite side too. Now that she wasn't getting attention from her husband, she looked to Cheryl to fill her bucket, and as a result became very overbearing. These shifts from Mom and Dad drove Cheryl to begin internalizing her anger, which is an excess north or south, sorry. And with internalized anger, she would hold it all in until she would rage at someone, you know, especially when they least expect it. She would yell at her teachers, cuss out her parents, and you know, a lot of bridges ended up being burned in that process of venting that anger, which became an excess east energy. Now fast forward again to adulthood, where she was when she, you know, first came to the mentorship. By then her pendulum had again swung back to the opposite direction. And again, she was incredibly disconnected from her spiritual self, which is a deficient north. She had a string of bad relationships in her life, all of which were codependent. Most were abusive towards her in one way or another, so that sets her up for an excess south. She poured herself into her work to the point of exhaustion. That's an excess east. It's also a little bit of west with that exhaustion. And then to numb out from all of that pain and emotional baggage, she began drinking and really didn't care about her health. So that's both excess West with the drinking, and not caring about her health is a deficient West. She didn't know who she was or what her life meant. She was really living paycheck to paycheck in a job that she wasn't passionate about, again, deficient East. And she lacked any kind of vitality, which is a deficient South. She didn't feel confident, wasn't the greatest communicator in the world. That's a deficient East, both of those. And she could and did still verbally assault others once that anger hit its tipping point, which again is that excess East and a little bit of excess South. So you see now how things affect another and affects another and affects another. It is both a domino effect and the pendulum swinging. When Cheryl started the mentorship, we just slowed down that pendulum and began threading things back to her past, which is when she started to uncover those core beliefs and work with them one by one. She learned how to recognize her needs, what changes she needed to make in her life that would also have a positive domino effect. For example, she began eating whole foods and drinking more water, which balanced some of that West energy. This gave her more clarity, which automatically gave her more of a balanced East, and more vitality, which gave her more of that balanced South. So with this newfound clarity and vitality, she started to feel better about herself. So her self-esteem started to rise up. Again, balanced East. And then once her self-esteem began to rise, she ended that unhealthy relationship she was in, and she began loving herself a lot more, which is more of that balanced South energy. She also began using a lot of the tools that she learned during the mentorship, one of which is connecting deeply to nature. And in doing this, she began to feel more connected to the spiritual body. That's that balanced North area. And she also began reaching out to the community in the mentorship and sharing her story and giving voice to her emotions, expressing her anger in a healthy way. That was both balanced East and South. So by slowing down the pendulum, you can be more in the present moment and in a state of awareness. Instead of reacting to life, you begin living the moment, creating the moment, and living a more heart-centered life. So these are Cheryl's latest results from the assessment test. You can see there's quite a bit of difference. And these results came after she had been in the mentorship for 2 directions, meaning she focused solely on 2 directions, 2 soul archetypes, one at a time, and then the next one. With a concentrated focus on one direction or soul archetype at a time, and during the super concentrated time of that, when that direction is seasonally happening, she could catapult herself forward in ways I don't even think she really, never thought was possible. There's a lot of power here in this framework, in this system, for transforming your entire life. And it really doesn't take years and years and years before you start seeing results. Just as that chain reaction happened that causes excess and deficient energy, the chain reaction can happen in pushing you to a more balanced and harmonious life that is full of vitality and full of purpose and full of connection and love and health. So by now, you might be wondering, how can the medicine wheel help me? How can all of this help me? Or you might be saying, I don't have time as it is. How could I learn it in a way that it could really make a difference? So let me ask you this. Have you been searching most of your life and still feel like there's just something missing? There is work involved in learning the medicine wheel and the tools associated with it, but it is still by far the best tool I have ever found because it is so adaptable to you personally. It is a system that allows you to expand and find your own source of empowerment, to find your own voice, while also sorting out the areas of your life so that you can make life more manageable. When I began searching for that perfect fit for myself, I exhausted all kinds of paths until I came to the medicine wheel. The medicine wheel was that missing piece that I needed to make sense of everything else. So I'm going to tell you more about how our sacred purpose fits into the medicine wheel. And I think when you see that locked in, you will find that missing piece you have been looking for. It might even be one of those aha moments for you. So I want you to join me in the next video so I can deliver that aha moment to you personally. I will also give you some tools, some great tools for balancing the energy of your visionary soul archetype. And below you will find a PDF download. And this is going to give you more information about the visionary soul archetype. It's just a good reference for you to have. And I would, of course, love to hear from you in the comment section below. You know, how do you feel that the energy of your visionary soul archetype is showing up for you in your life? So anyway, I look forward to hearing from you below. Comment and download that PDF. All of that. So thanks, guys. I'm going to see you in the next video. I can't wait. And you have some reading to do and some commenting. Bye.